Hello, folks, and happy Friday. We're into another week of the new year of 2026, and I feel led of the Lord to share with you guys that excuses, you hear them every day. I don't know if you're familiar with that song or not. I kind of went along with "Here's Your Sign," but in Exodus chapter 4, chapters 4, 5, and 6, you can read and find out when God called Moses, what excuses he came up with as to why he couldn't do what God called him to do. Here it is. God's telling him, hey, I want you to do this. I know I'm calling you to do it. And Moses is saying, wait a minute, I think you got the wrong guy. So, in fact, that's true. In verse 3, Moses said, who am I? I'm not holy enough. God's reply is, I'll be with you in verse 12. And then Moses asked, so what shall I say? Well, in verse 14, God said, this is what you're to say. God will give you the message at the right time. So you step out in faith to share God's love, because we're called to go and tell, catch fish, catch men, tell them about the Lord. But yet lots of times our excuses are, I don't know what to say. Or I might fail. What happens if it all goes wrong, God? What if they don't listen? What if it doesn't work out? What if they say, the Lord didn't tell you that? Folks, these are excuses that we tend to think of a lot when God calls us to do something that we don't feel comfortable with. So finally, Moses was equipped with what he needed. God gave him Aaron to help him in his speech impediment. And God told him to go to King Pharaoh. To go to King Pharaoh and tell Pharaoh that he's to set the people free. And boy, you talk about something that wasn't so fun. When you do yield and agree with God to do his will, now be ready, because some storms are going to happen. But know this, that he's with us all the way. So here's some breakdowns on maybe some excuses again. I do not have the right gifts. That's not my gift. I'm not called to do that. Well, oh Lord, I've never been eloquent. I am no slow to speech or tongue, verses 10. And Moses stuttered, or he had something, and that's true. In chapter 6, verse 12, it talks about it. But God also said, I will help you speak, and I will teach you what to say. He didn't give it to him all at once. He said, look, in the minute you need it, you'll have it. And he said, I know that, Moses said, I know that your strength is made perfect in my weakness. It's also mentioned in 2 Corinthians 12:9. Moses also said, somebody else will do it. Please send somebody else to do it, in verse 13. Well, it's easy to think that somebody else is going to do it better than me. And I'm sure there probably would be, but that's not who was called. God's not blessed with Moses' excuses. He's not blessed with ours either when we make them. But he does supply Moses with Aaron as a speech person. And he does equip us in a task that he requires of us. Even though we've probably not ever done that. But God calls us. We can have the confidence to know that he's going to help us do what he calls us to do. So he produces in us fruit. The New Living Translation in Hebrews 13, verse 21 states this: may he equip you with all you need for doing his will. May he produce in you, through the power of Jesus Christ, every good thing that is pleasing to him. When we start relying on ourselves and our own strength, we absolutely will fail. But when we're connected to Jesus Christ and we take God at his word and trust him that when he gives us a task to do something that we don't feel at all qualified for, he's the one that qualifies us to do it. So he's looking for the unqualified. Why? So that he can get the power, he can get the credit, he can get the glory, and we can have such more and more faith, trusting in his word as to what he is saying to us and to the world. He shows us how he is in every aspect of our life when we're following him, when we're listening to him, and when we feel so adequate of ourselves, our job, our bank account. All those things don't matter. What matters is that we get rid of the excuses and we do what God asks us to do, trusting that he will equip us as we need in doing the task that he's requested of us. So maybe the Lord's called you to do something and you've been putting it off as far as needs in the church, maybe needs in your family. Maybe he's directed you to go a different way in your job or your career, and you're afraid. Don't be afraid in doing God's will. Don't worry about the struggle or the pain of doing God's will. But know this, that as we abide with Christ, he says in Isaiah 53, 4 and 5, that he feels our pain. He guarantees us deliverance and freedom through the storms of service. So there are benefits. You know, even Moses got to see the inheritance as he went on with the Lord when they reached the Holy Land, the Promised Land. He wasn't allowed to go in, but God took Moses. What a better place. So folks, listen to God's calling. Go his direction and continue to abide with Christ and his power and his promises. And failure is just non-existent, where we walk by faith and we trust God to do the rest. Have a blessed day and a good week.